Hello and welcome back to another 5K tennis discussion. Today is Wednesday, February the 5th, 2020, and we are here to jump right into talking about current tennis news. You ready, Carla?
Yes, sir.
Let's go! Disregard this big white patch on my face, which is kind of hard to miss, obviously. I had some skin cancer cut off my face, but good to go, strong, ready, let's get down!
Okay, I was just making sure.
Shoot!
You know how sometimes people that are in camera, they have the makeup artist, my face is too shiny or not enough glow.
You can tell I don't have a makeup artist.
Well, it's shiny, but it's cute.
Well, probably because I haven't been able to wash my face in 24 hours.
Oh yeah,
It's like a sheen of greasy muck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay.
See,
cool.
that's where you got to go with it. All right, so we're going to start today's show with a subject. So I couldn't put my contacts in, obviously, because this eye can't even see out of. So I'm going to pop my glasses on. Let's get down. Shoot. Takes more than that to keep me down. All right, so the subject that we are going to start with today is a really important one. And this subject goes way beyond tennis. However, the subject has, alas, become involved in tennis, and in my opinion, I know Carla's opinion, in a really bad way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was, kind of sitting last night, wallowing in this facial swelling and misery, and I wrote something, and I'll tell you where I'm going to go with it. So I'm going to read it because I want my thoughts to be like I put them on the page and not maybe where they are now, okay? So subject at hand. If we, or any one of us watching, or anyone for that matter, we're on a global stage, or we had a global stage or a global platform. Like I think of this channel as a global platform. We have viewers all over the world. And what we said was heard by masses of people. And I mean by the millions of people in this context, okay? Understanding that, knowing that what we say will be heard by millions of people, and what we say may either positively or adversely affect some of those people's, or a lot of those people's and the millions' lives. Knowing that what we say may hurt their feelings, or may not, or may anger them, or whatever. What are the morals? What are the ethics behind what we say in terms of, are they right or are they wrong? So put in simpler terms, if I'm on a global stage, what is right or wrong for me to say on my platform? What are the morals there? What are the ethics? Are there punishments thereof? I know in certain countries you'll get your head lopped off for talking about the government. But in this context, I want to talk about tennis, and as tennis fans and players, what is proper, what is right or wrong to say on a global stage. Now, in this context, we are going to revisit a topic that we've talked about ad nauseum over the past, 3 or 4 months, maybe, and not ad nauseum, but at least
No, not 3 4. Lately, because of the Australian Open.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this trickles into tennis news prior to the Australian. And we'll discuss that. So in this context, we're going to just revisit Margaret Court, John McEnroe, and Martina Navratilova. Now, I do not want to get into what they have disagreements about, but what I want to get into is what is right or wrong to say on a global stage, and in this sense, in the game of tennis. Now, how their beef started, as we all know, and if you don't know, Margaret Court has some very conservative beliefs. I think she is involved in the church, and we're not going to get into that either. I'm too naive and too dumb of a human being to go there, but she has conservative beliefs. And McEnroe and Navratilova have more liberal beliefs. And again, I don't want to get political because I hate politics. I don't hate them, but I'm too naive to know anything about them. I was raised never to talk about race, religion, politics, isms, get into different cults, or just stay a straight shooter and love everyone, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think when you're an artist, an athlete, anybody that people look up to, you shouldn't talk about certain things because it's just not your place and you don't know much about it, and we're pretty much all ignorant, I think. It's all opinions, don't you think?
Absolutely. There's an old saying, opinions are like assholes, everybody has one. And it's so very true. Sorry for the language, but what Margaret Court has a stance against, and that is not what this is about. So I'm going to say this lightly and hopefully politically correct. But she has a view that marriage should be between man and woman or whatever, and I think that she is entitled to her beliefs. However, I do think that on a global stage we shouldn't negatively affect people's lives. But how this, in a sense, started, though, to come to a climax is she has her beliefs, and as we all know, Navratilova and McEnroe have their beliefs.
Right. Well, it all started in Australia. In 2017, when Australians were going out to vote, she put a public letter urging Australians to vote against gay marriage for the sake of Australia and for the sake of our children and our children's children. So that's where it all started.
So, or subsequently after some of this, Martina Navratilova and John McEnroe, which are commentators for ESPN here, a tennis channel, and made their way to Australia, which is not their home country, number one. Navratilova is from Czechoslovakia, McEnroe is from the U.S., and they go to another country, and they, like spies in the middle of the night, find a way to infiltrate Rod Laver Arena and shock the world with a statement or statements that Margaret Court Arena should be changed to Yvonne Goolagong Arena. So now picture this. You in my opinion, these two infiltrated someone's country, infiltrated her court with her name on it, and basically pulled a shithead move. That's just my opinion. Now, I'll get into McEnroe for a moment, but McEnroe, we all think that Kyrgios is bad, and we all think that all these young players that smash their rackets are bad. But if you know McEnroe, and I grew up watching that guy, and in a sense, my father obviously not grew up watching him, but watched him throughout his entire career, and it is without saying that McEnroe is the worst, hideous court sportsmanship individual that's ever lived.
Well, he's the last person that should be talking. Not only his court conduct was bad, but let's not forget all the things that were done in the 70s when they were playing tennis.
Wasn't he a drug user
and hitting domestic violence? I mean, it wasn't a good record. So if I were him, I'd be quiet. I don't think it's right for anybody. Not even Navratilova or anybody. I don't care what your stand is. If you're against them or you disagree or you don't like them, you should keep your mouth quiet and be respectful to each other. You guys are athletes.
Yeah, so somehow this has now made its way into the sport that, Carla, that we have passion for. All of you, if you're here, you have passion for. So somehow now we have politics, we have different isms or realities or whatever on center court at a major. Because, in my opinion, of Navratilova and McEnroe and their absolutely hideous idea of doing what they did. In my opinion, they should be taken away from, I'm not saying their positions as a whole, but I wouldn't let them come out on the court and risk something like that again. I think it's tarnished a really big aspect of the game. Not the game itself, but what the game is about. I mean, since when do we have isms and alities and personal life beliefs that have crept into the game? I have never seen anything like it, but I go on these conspiracy theories about, bring stuff to the court to sell tickets, and I think this is a prime example of that. But I think that this
was bad.
But this was a bad. This
wasn't to sell tickets.
Well, negativity sells. Let's be real. I mean, when Kyrgios jacks off his water bottle on the sidelines, that's created to sell, or he wouldn't be there. So this is one of those things that is bad as something like that. So we have sexual gestures on the court, and now we have sexual preference on the court. So I'm going to start our discussion about how we feel about this with two comments that I've gotten from one viewer and one and very special Novak Djokovic. Not to me personally, but what I want to do is I'm going to first read a comment in response to this topic. I was discussing this topic with a viewer who so happens to be my father last night. So I want to read a response from him when we were talking about this whole dilemma with McEnroe in court. So do you have that comment there?
The one from your dad?
Yeah, the one from my dad?
There you go.
All right, so I'm going to read this comment, and hopefully it comes across right. All right, so this is in reference to what John McEnroe and Martina Navratilova did. All right, John McEnroe should talk about breaches of civility, and that these two should team up and blabber about their personal views on a public stage in front of an international audience, exploiting the money and resources of others in a country other than their own is proof that being former champions is no defense against arrogance or petty conceit. It's not clear to me why anyone would ever want to watch or listen to McEnroe vent about anything. When he kept his mouth shut, he was a pretty good tennis player, but no one in my lifetime has ever abused the sport or ever taken advantage of its lifelong traditions as a stage for behavioral eruptions like he did. I have no doubt that in many respects he's a fine gentleman, but for years now I've been hoping he'd finally grow up and become an elder statesman and noble ambassador for tennis, which he has still a potential to be. However, what appears to be the case is that his regard for his own worth is a bit higher than his regard for the worth of others. C.S. Levy, S. Levita, it is what it is. Okay, so very well said. Now, before we discuss, let's read Novak Djokovic's take on this dilemma. Novak Djokovic arguably becoming the greatest tennis player of all time, number one in the world again, Players Council president. I think his response deserves a read as well, and it is a very, very good one too. Carla, do you want to read that one?
Sure. He says, Margaret is a huge champion, a tennis hero in Australia and also around the world. One of the most important tennis players in the history of the women's game. Of course, when she says something like that, it has a huge impact. I don't support what she said. I don't think it was the right thing to say, but she probably has her reasons, and we have to respect that. She has a difference in opinion. That's all there is to it.
And is there another paragraph to that right below it? Did you read both of those little paragraphs?
Yes, I did.
Okay, sorry. I can't see much. So this whole eye is like a blur. But Djokovic is absolutely right.
He said it well, professionally well, yeah.
Yeah. So what are the thoughts here? My thoughts are never pass up an opportunity to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. You just look dumb once you open your mouth for the wrong thing. I mean, it's okay to talk about match or how angry you are maybe of a sponsor, but when it comes to stuff like this that's touchy and you're hurting other people's feelings, you have to be careful with it. I mean, even if you're against it or not, it doesn't matter.
I mean, let me put it this way. We have 5 children, and we sit down and we watch tennis as a family. Sometimes we record matches. We sit down at the dinner table and we turn on matches. And when I have to have my 4 and 7-year-old or any of them sit here and watch a politically driven agenda on a tennis court, much less that involves sexuality. It's like, why does this even matter? This is tennis. Who cares what people's personal lives are about? I like a lot of athletes that haven't had the best track records. People say, how do you like that guy? He did this, or she did that. I'm like, look what I've done in my life. Jeez, you hang out with me and you know what I did when I was half my age? Maybe you wouldn't like me either. So, what I'm saying is these are athletes. They go to work, but yet they get judged on their personal life. Now, I get when you go to work every day that you have people in the workplace and you may not like the person next to you and that person may hate you.
That's common.
But that's just the way it is. As my father said, it is what it is. Eat shit, whatever. I don't care. I'm trying to support my deal, my family, put the roof over my head. It's like, people here, sometimes we get negative comments. We don't, rhetoric back. We just, delete it and wish, everybody well and move forward with the family that we created. And then that's just the way it's going to be. So I think it's really petty that McEnroe and Navratilova went on the court. I do think it's, not necessarily the right belief that Margaret Court has. However, I think she's done it mostly in her kind of church setting until it started going back and forth on media platforms. And I'm not trying to do it here. And that's not what we're getting into is the ism or belief behind it. It's what's right, what is right or wrong to say on a global stage in front of the masses of people. I think that what McEnroe and Navratilova did was offensively wrong, especially...
Did she say it on the tennis global stage, or did she say it at her church or in her country?
Yeah, I mean...
It's a big difference.
It's a big difference here,
That's a big difference. Did she go on TV on a tennis tournament and say, well, I don't believe in this and this and that and that, or did she do that at church and in Australia?
Yeah, I mean, it's a totally different ballgame. Our beliefs are our beliefs, and when we live in Western civilizations and these days, a lot of other ones, what we do, we are entitled to do, and we're free to do so, and it's usually done behind closed doors. I think she is a pastor of some type of conservative denomination. Not my business, don't really care, but I don't think this began with overall global sentiment. I think it rolled over to that because who she is, but again... but she is entitled to her beliefs. Do I think they're right? Absolutely not. But now it has permeated center court
I mean, she does deserve
of the game that we
she does
played in.
deserve the court being named after her.
Absolutely.
I mean, we did talk about her Grand Slams, how some of them should really not affect Serena because they were really not won during the Open era. But still, her record is amazing. It's still amazing.
All right, now to part two of this topic, the same topic, and back to the initial thesis statement from the beginning. If you are a global icon, in this case, she's one of them. She's an older global icon. A lot of people don't know who in the heck she is or could care less. But let's just say you are someone, up on the line of, say, LeBron James. He's probably one of the most dominant athletes of any sport across the board right now, right?
Right.
What do you think he would say something like this? I think not. I think LeBron has.
He's not that dumb to say that.
I'm not pointing at him, but he's someone that comes to my mind that I think has developed into a very solid businessman, straightforward, for the most part, really humble athlete, just like Jordan or any other global icon. So let's just say you are someone at the level of LeBron James. Okay, not picking on him, but he's one of my favorite athletes. So anyway, let's just say you are John Doe, which is equal to a LeBron James caliber. So I'm John Doe, LeBron James caliber. Is it in my best interest to ever say, whether it's in private or not, or outside at least my front door of my home, is it okay to even talk about different beliefs or not, knowing that if someone hears it, it's going to be spread around like wildfire?
When you're a public figure, you got to be careful.
You got to be careful.
You got to be careful. Anything you do will be speculated. I mean, anything.
Everything will be scrutinized.
There's cameras and there's recorders and you just never know.
When I was little, we would go to this camp, in the middle of the woods for a week, and all of us campers would sit in this huge room, and it was done specifically for this, and I never forget this when we did this, and it was such a fun thing to do. So picture like 200 kids, between 12 and 15 years old, all sitting in a huge circle out in the middle of the woods in a bonfire in the middle, So one of the camp counselors would walk up and say, person one, something like, the old dirty cat walked across the road. Mm-hmm. And they would whisper it in their ear so no one would hear it. And then the goal is for that person to whisper it in the next person's ear, and that person in the next person's ear, let it travel all the way around, and the person sitting right to the left of the person, because the circle went right, would have to read it, would have to say out loud what the message was. Do you know how many times the message was even approximately close to the original message? 0.
Yeah. Well, and people gossip, right?
People gossip.
They tell somebody one thing, and then that person tells the person, and it changes.
It exponents.
Yeah.
So
and it gets exaggerated.
So the old dirty cat crossing the road would come back, the big furry black creature from Mars, with 3 Amazon Tarzan people jumping off the back rope, something crazy. Wouldn't even be close. So because of that, I always tell my kids or any students that we teach, where there is a plethora thereof, never talk about race, never talk about religion, never talk about politics, never talk about any isms or any other beliefs. Be good, be humble, study diligently, stay fit. Otherwise, just stay out of any discussion, because if someone hears it, which in 2020, with cell phones and recorders and cameras and so forth, you are going to get pounded in the rear end hard by anybody that has an ear and a phone, because they're going to twist it and it's going to get out of hand. So, alas, now we have had this get on to the tennis court, which is unfortunate. I think all 3 of them, honestly, are semi-schmuck for Margaret Court and big-time schmuck for Navratilova and McEnroe for jumping into another country. Was it your domain? If you want to go do that in Czechoslovakia, which doesn't exist at this point, I don't want to get into geography. I'm actually sorry. I don't know terribly much about that. Again, dumb human being. McEnroe, if you want to come do it, here and make some parade against Margaret Court, then do so. But I have a feeling you're pelted with eggs. So if you can't do it here, knowing you'd get your butt kicked, then why would you go do it there? Anyway, ending this segment with a couple of quotes, just to show you there's nothing new under the sun. Most of these quotes go back for a while. But has anyone heard the old saying, never pass up an opportunity to keep your mouth shut? I think all 3 of them missed the bus on this one. Here's another one. Letting the cat out of the bag is a lot easier than putting it back in. I think all 3 of these executed that pretty well.
I think we all have experienced that too.
Last one, when you get yourself in a hole, stop digging. And they're still digging, going back and forth. Your thoughts on this? I think it's a shit sandwich with mayonnaise spread on it and a little bit of old fungus cheese. but ultimately it shouldn't be on the tennis court. So boo-hoo. Where's my asshole merit badge? I don't know. I lost it. But I think all three of them get an asshole merit badge. All right, next topic. Here we go. This one should be quick, but the Roger Federer Foundation, for the 6th year in a row, will have their Federer, or Fadal, as people have said over the years.
Fadal.
The Fadal. I've never said
never
that.
Liked that.
I've never said that until right now.
I never liked that.
Sounds kind of cheesy. Fadal. But they will have their match this year in Cape Town, South Africa. What's up, Gene Swart? Doing big things down there. But what the Roger Federer Foundation does, by the way, they promote education for kids, especially in Africa. I think it's 6 different countries, and also in Switzerland. I saw, this was a couple years ago, that Roger Federer had a pair of his Vapor Tour 9.5s autographed. Just one shoe was like on sale for, I don't know, like $1,500. And the good thing about it, though, people these days, the elite, I guess you could say, can afford these things. And all of the proceeds do go to this charity. So I'm a charitable person.
Maybe he can put his watch in there, his wife's watch.
Yeah, we were looking at the other day at athletes. They walk out on the court, or any athletes in all the sports, and actors and so forth.
Yeah,
football players who had the nicest watches, and some of these players, like on the top 10 list, would walk around with, I don't know, $1.2 million watches on. I couldn't imagine it. Even if I had that money, I wouldn't spend it on a watch.
No, I don't think I could do that. I would feel selfish, And then people say, well, what about if you were in that situation? You wouldn't say that. I did like America's watch. I did love it. Beautiful. Good touch.
Well, she had like a Rolex rainbow dial perpetual, beautiful, or whatever. Yeah. But
now
I wouldn't to wear. I wouldn't spend that because. Do
you think she spent it, or they gave it to them, since he is sponsored by Rolex?
Of course they gave it to him. Now let's get away from that, because we're speaking out of tongue here, because you and I didn't come from terribly much. But let's just say you had it definitely a struggle. Belize and Brooklyn and so forth. So you can't tell me, Carla. I'm calling you a liar. Not a liar. She wouldn't buy that watch.
No, I had a Movado watch, and I felt guilty about that. And then I think I kind of pawned it and just gave it away.
Yeah, she wouldn't. She would not. You struggled too hard.
I'm a very simple person.
She struggled too hard, and if you knew her whole entire personal life story, you might be kind of silent. We would never say that here, but she's been through a lot on a lot of different levels, not just moving in tennis, but a lot of other stuff. So I don't think you would buy that watch. Neither would I. If I had $10 million in the bank, I would
feel guilty, and I think I would divide it with people that, yesterday I went with him, and I know this is not part of it.
Go ahead.
I went with him while he was getting his surgery done. I told Justin, I said, we think that we have it so bad, but then you listen to other people's stories and them crying, and you could see they've been through a lot. And one thing that they all mentioned was, it would take a day at a time, and God has blessed me, and you must have faith. And it was really touching to see that. I think my father-in-law and I, we spoke to a lot of elderly people, and made you realize when you get older, sometimes you're alone, and it's tough.
Yeah. I know the eye looks bad, but honestly, the staff and everything there was just absolutely spectacular. So we had kind of a good time, less the meat cut out of my face. But the Federer Foundation is really a really good cause, and a lot of these athletes, Djokovic and Nadal, and a lot of other ones that are $100 million athletes in all different sports and stuff have a lot of good foundations. I know LeBron built a school. And a big one at that. So LeBron's big into that type of stuff too. But this tournament is in Cape Town. It's not a tournament. I said tournament. It's an exhibition is what I meant to say. And it's actually kind of a fun deal. So Federer and Nadal will play a match. Obviously, it's not going to be a battle royale. Generally, these type of matches take place. I know I've been to 3 or 4 exhibitions, namely with Andy Roddick and Agassi and the Bryan brothers. And what would occur is generally Agassi and Roddick would play like 2 out of 3 sets. They'd have a microphone on, though, like hooked to their ear, and they'd have fun with the crowd and, trick shots and so forth. Mm-hmm. And then Agassi and Roddick would take on the Bryan brothers in doubles. And, that was the same type thing. So what they're doing here is the same type thing. Federer will be playing doubles actually with Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft, who is a big part of this educational program and a lot more. As well, Nadal will play doubles with Trevor Noah, as we know.
Trevor Noah is hilarious.
He's a really good, yeah, he's hilarious.
You should watch his first comedy act. Hilarious. I watched it too many times.
Yeah, you and I watched Trevor Noah's.
Is you?
Yeah. So we watched Trevor Noah's first ever stand up years ago, and it was actually hilarious.
Yeah.
Also a record is trying to be attained here. The stadium that they are playing in is on the coast of the Atlantic Ocean in Cape Town, and it seats 50,000 people.
Wow.
So they're trying to set a record for the most attendance at one tournament. The current attendance was set by Roger Federer and Zverev in Mexico City during their "Cry, I love you, man, it's okay" crybaby trip there this past year. And that was at 42,000. So if they can pack the house,
Poor people that are way up there, and they probably look like little ants like that.
yeah. So it'll be part of a record-setting type deal for the biggest crowd ever. So that might be kind of fun. And the motto behind the Roger Federer Foundation is basically this: education empowers our children to shape their own lives. I think that's well said. That's what we're all about too.
Awesome.
Quick note, Roger Federer's mother is from South Africa, and he says he's glad to be playing Nadal there. So I think that's kind of a fun energy type take. And that's February the 7th in Cape Town, South my eyeball's starting to come through my mouth.
Are they going to air it?
I was just getting there. It comes on February the 7th at 6:30 p.m. South African time. I did not look at my world clock to translate time. Generally, something that big charitable would be pay-per-view in the general area.
I don't think they're going to put that pay-per-view.
No. I'm saying if that was boxing, it would be.
Yeah, it's tennis.
But see, when you have tennis that only has two people, and it's kind of charitable. You're not going to pay-per-view it because it's going to go to charity, not the company that does it. But usually, like big boxing exhibition matches are more kind of pay-per-view. What was the one between the two YouTubers, KSI and Logan Paul?
I don't know. I wouldn't pay it, so I don't care who's fighting.
All right. Well, anyway, comments on that. I think it's a wonderful thing. I'm sure everybody else will. And it's for a good cause. All right. Moving forward, some quick match updates that are going on currently at a couple of different tournaments. I only mention these because as we move towards May and the French Open comes to pass on clay, if you're going to play fantasy teams or the tennis racket giveaway, it's nice to start looking at players that can earn you, say, 2 points on your fantasy teams, or players that may do well in the French Open, because clay season really kind of starts now, even though we have Indian Wells and Miami anyway. So I
think we were watching last night Felix Auger-Aliassime play
Jumour.
Yeah, that was a good match. I was like, this got to be tough for him because, he's an 18-year-old boy playing a man. It's tough.
He started slow.
It was on hard court.
Yeah, I think Jumour won the first set 7-6, and then it was 6-2, 6-2 at Aliassime. Slow start, I know the feeling. But here's just a couple of quick things. A notable, Pablo Cuevas beat Del Bonis. Remember, Cuevas can win you some points. There was a qualifier, by the way, Carlos Taberner. Is that how you pronounce that? Taberner?
Taberner,
yeah. It took out Fernando Verdasco in 3 sets, and Verdasco is one of those guys that can do some damage, at least sometimes on clay. Cecchinato, the Italian, was beaten by Londero in straight sets. That was kind of interesting for me. Where are you at, Cecchinato? Don't be another Jack Sock or Berrettini out there. Pablo Andujar 1-2. The young French kid Moutet won in a couple of sets.
We're going to see a lot of the same names during the clay season.
We might as well
get used to them because it changes. Hardcore to clay, you'll see more Spanish, French, Italian.
Yeah, and to compete with anyone
Portugal.
and to compete with anyone for the fantasy team stuff, you're going to want to know some of these players or you'll get trounced. The French Open fantasy is my worst season.
Yeah, but we watched it last year. We
did
watched
well.
all these matches.
Yeah, we did pretty well.
Yeah.
All right, so in Montpellier, France, the Open Sud de France. That's where Felix took out Jumour in 3 sets. It's good to see Jumour out there, at least hanging in there. He's from, Bosnia and Herzegovina. I don't hear a lot of tennis coming out of there. Surely they have a foundation, but I'm good to at least see him still around. Carreno Busta goes down. Feliciano Lopez takes out Hugo Humbert. Good for Feliciano Lopez to still be riding out, even though he wears those Dead Set sponsored shirts with the skull on it. So you get a white T-shirt with a black skull for $100. So I think that's kind of crazy. Yannick, the young Yannick Sinner goes down. Maybe Yannick Sinner, as you know, that played in so we have the next gen, and then we have
the next
gen. I think Sinner was in the next gen.
I see Benoit players playing this tournament too.
Yeah, so Sinner goes down. Where's Pierre? He's in
playing
Montpellier.
tomorrow. Yeah, he's playing tomorrow.
And then Pierre Hughes Herbert won. So again, I don't have.
Is this for Pune?
The next one's for Pune.
Yeah, Troiki pulled out. I saw.
Yeah, Troitsky won his first round match in a tight one. I think with a young Japanese player, and then ended up pulling out of his second round match. I think the number one Indian player was Prunesh Ganaswaran, which Jonathan, our son, my oldest son, noticed and said he liked his game a long time ago. So good for my son Jonathan for seeing him long before he was Indians number one. That's how we roll.
Barankis is playing as well.
Oh, he's playing in. Is it India?
Yeah, I'm looking.
Cool.
Looking at the draw right now.
So, not a lot of super notable stuff. The women are playing Fed Cup right now. Good job for the women.
Osaka and Serena are not playing any WTA events in February, so we won't see them. And then Venus and Kim Clijsters come back in March to Monterrey, Mexico. That will be March 2nd.
Now, speaking of Kim Clijsters, we were talking about record-setting venues for crowd size. So Federer and Nadal are going to try to set at this exhibition in South Africa. Number 2 was Mexico City, Federer and Zverev. Mm-hmm. Number 3 on that list, if number 1 happens, if not, number 2 now, is when Serena Williams played Kim Clijsters in an exhibition.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember what year, but I remember that because it was a record then when I saw that then. I think that was years ago. Maybe you could Google that. Anyway, next topic real quick. Novak Djokovic. What's up? Thanks his plant-based diet for his success.
I believe him. I was eating fruits all day, and I was like, "Wow, I feel good."
Yeah, it's something that I think we should all think about.
Unfortunately, it's cost a lot of money.
It's costly to
Very
do
costly.
so. I think we went to, or you guys, I
went with his dad, and he bought fruits and stuff, and $90 for like 4 little bags. When I could shop for a week.
Yeah, so $90 worth of fruit. We have 5 children. They destroyed it last night. It was gone. But yeah, if we don't buy fruit and buy animal-based stuff, then we spend $90 and we can eat for a week. So it's a tough thing to swallow.
It's a tough thing.
I think he is correct. I think it is a very beneficial thing, but it's a very expensive thing. So I don't think everybody can do that.
I saw, by the way, Rajesh sent me a video of they were waiting for him in his country, and at a church they were chanting his name. You should have seen the people lined up for him for Novak.
Should be
waiting. Yeah,
arguably the best tennis player ever lived.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was an amazing view to see that.
Have this ESPN thing ready.
Okay.
I sent you the article. All right. Next quick topic. Novak Djokovic also states that his goal is to pace himself healthily, respectfully, and not get too anxious. And to poise himself to overcome Roger's record of 20 Grand Slams in 2 years' time. I think this is a really, 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 really good idea. There's an old saying too: if you throw a pebble in the bucket, I sent it to you on text message. If you throw a pebble in a bucket every day, eventually the bucket fills up and it will overflow. In other words, just steady at the helm, slow steading, plod along, etc. And hey, if you put in hard work, the bucket will overflow. So I think it's a great idea, right, Carla? I mean, why would he want to set himself up to? If you can't find it, that's fine. I can tell him.
Yeah.
Preparation is key.
I didn't get it. It's not there.
So anyway, what Djokovic has, I guess evolved or alluded to is that he's not going to try to, necessarily get it all done this year. He really feels like he's going to do it, but if he comes up short the French, it is what it is. But I'm going to stay healthy. I'm going to watch my body, and I'm going to try to do this in 2 years' time. Good goal.
Good goal.
I think it's an excellent goal. The last bit of this show is going to be one comment and then something that a commentator said on ESPN. So I thought I had the article. My fault. But the statement comes from an ESPN analyst by the name of Tony Kornheiser. From a credible standpoint, Tony Kornheiser has been a very long-time commentator. I like him a lot. I've always liked Tony Kornheiser a lot. When I was a kid, I was 16 years old, and I used to be a driver for a law firm for summer work, and I would deliver like papers and envelopes to different offices. This is long before the internet. It's like 94 or something. And maybe it started to come out a little around there, but you were still running envelopes around. And I used to listen to his show, so on the radio then. You found it. Okay, So I'm going to read you his statement, Tony Kornheiser, on Novak Djokovic. So the context of this is Tony Kornheiser was on his type platform, ESPN, and he was basically asked or asked about the greatest of all time debate involving Novak Djokovic. His response to this, and I quote, thank you for finding this. He, meaning Novak Djokovic, has 17 majors. Federer has 20. Nadal has 19. As a tennis player yourself, you know the most important majors are Wimbledon and the U.S. Open. The French is third, and the Australian is fourth. Novak Djokovic has 8 at the Australian and 8 in combination of Wimbledon and the U.S. Open. Federer has 13 in combination of the U.S. Open and Wimbledon. So get out of here on this. Okay.
Was he drunk when he said this?
An absolutely ridiculous...
Has he watched the Australian Open?
I don't even know if he even knows the game at this point.
Wow.
The days of the Australian and French not being important. First of all, the French was actually the oldest of all of them, isn't it?
He's stuck in the 70s, 60s.
Yeah, he's stuck again. I mean, he is. I love Kornheiser on takes with football, baseball, basketball, hockey, all the other sports that Kornheiser covers. Wonderful, but tennis, I would advise him to kind of step away from because it couldn't be more untrue here. I get some of Margaret Court's days, were irrelevant.
The funny thing is that the other guy said, I thought the U.S. Open was the big one.
So, again, no disrespect necessarily to Kornheiser Hall. He delivers a quality product for his commentary across sports, but the tennis one was just out there. I don't know what he was thinking there. Maybe if it was 1961.
Don't watch the show, guys. Don't watch the show.
And the French Open, again, has been one of the granddaddies for as long as we can remember. I think Wimbledon was 1877. And
they're all old tournaments, so they're all close, in range. But that was very dumb for him. I could understand if it was before the Open era, but this is where it's at its toughest.
Exactly. All right, so I want to end the show with a comment from a new subscriber. Actually, he's commented here before, and I just saw he subscribed today. And I try to mention something from subscribers, and this comment just came in really, really good, and I thought it was really well written. So to end this show, we're going to read a comment. You want to read it?
Sure, and I did want to read another sweet lady that sent me a message, too.
All right, well, let's read them both. We're going to read the first comment from Pistol Shrimp Studio. Cool name. We live near Bila Battery.
That's a cool name.
We live near Bila Battery, Alabama. Like, it's right there, right on the water. And it's the shrimp. There's more. It's the shrimp capital of the world, at least here in the... No, maybe not the world, but in the United States.
Yes.
It's where Forrest Gump was filmed. All right, let's read Pistol Shrimp's comment, and he's Serbian.
He says, I'm Serbian, very proud for what Djokovic has accomplished so far. He won 17 Grand Slams titles. That is insane. I just want to see him compete and play great matches. He could retire tomorrow, and in my opinion, he has done more than enough in tennis. I don't really care for the GOAT title because I don't believe in the greatest of all time. That changes over time. I like to say most successful in history so far. Also, majors are the most important, but not the only measurement of tennis success. Great champion must be great everywhere. The highest level of tennis ever reached is Djokovic of 2011, from January to September, and Nadal on Roland Garros. Djokovic is a bad matchup for Nadal, so it's tough to compare their absolute peaks, but Djokovic just edges Nadal overall. Federer is the best grass court player, but more beatable than peak Nadal or Roland Garros and peak Djokovic at Australian Open. This is just my opinion.
Well, very well written, for sure. There is basically 100% truth to that, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I could agree with him on that.
We did a show about a year ago, and we were discussing 2 of Novak Djokovic's years. If I remember correctly, I think Djokovic's second best year performance was still one of the second best in history. Remember we were doing a show, we looked up, Djokovic had like this incredible year, and then I said like Nadal.
Before the injury.
And then
before the injury in 2017 or 2008. Because 2018 is when Federer and Nadal won their Grand Slams.
Yeah, I know we did a lot of research on that last year, and there was a year that we said that, no, look at this record, and then we stated that Nadal had a really good one on this one year.
Yes.
And then someone was like, wait a minute, you forgot about this year from Djokovic.
Yes.
You remember that?
They're all great. Like I said, how can you hate on one guy? You know?
Yeah, really good message. Really good message for sure. And then you had a message.
I have one more viewer that does not play tennis. Her name is Margaret. I won't say her last name.
She's from London.
She's from the UK. She says, "Hi guys, I live in the UK and would like you to know how much I like your videos and love your collaborative views and comments. Love to hear all about your family life and family involvement in tennis. You're both tennis coaches, so you both know what you're talking about. I'm 72, retired nurse, and never play tennis, but I just love the sport. I go to Wimbledon every year and Queens, but would love to watch clay court tennis or a hard court. I have been to the ATP finals since it moved to London and will miss going after this year. My favorite player is Novak. He deserves a win and very happy that he regained the #1 ranking. Keep up the good work and can't wait to watch your next video."
Let's go!
Hello, Margaret.
What's up, Margaret?
Thank you. I did reply, so whenever you get a chance.
First of all, I apologize to you for Tim Henman never winning Wimbledon.
So close.
So close.
So far.
Was always a big Henman fan. My father used to speak highly of Tinman. Henman was a classy guy.
Every time the people would sit on the Hinman Hill, I used to say, "Oh, they're going to be so disappointed." So I would stop cheering for him because it was just a heartbreak.
Yeah, and then too bad for Hinman too. You know, he had Hinman Hill, and all of a sudden Murray wins it, and you know Hinman Hill gets dwarfed by Murray Mountain. So it's kind of a crap sandwich on that one. But nonetheless, also too, you're a nurse out there, and I tell you, I've been through some injuries in my life with all the stuff that I've gotten into, extreme sports, and I won't get into all that. But some of the most important people in my life, believe it or not, have been nurses. So you said you're a nurse. Spread love with the patients. Talk tennis with your patients. Show them a magic trick. Make them feel better, because I have been that patient, and there's nothing better than a good nurse.
Yes, we've met quite a few.
So much love to the nurses. Let's go!
Yes.
So anyway, my eye's about to fall out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to patch this sucker up, and we're going to go get this video done. So thanks so much for watching, everyone. Let's get down. This was a good show. I felt good about this one. So we will see you very soon. We're gonna grind this year out. We're gonna try to get to the next level. So much love to all of you. Adios, vamos, sayonara, anamaka pizza. What is au revoir?
Au revoir.
Go.
Adios.
Cheers, mate.